Thank you, Arthur. And we start with second session survey and question number 1. What do you consider to be the most challenging aspect for developing a mining project in Southeast Europe? And several answers: acceptance or approval by local communities and stakeholders, social license to operate, environmental permitting process, securing finance for project development, approval process for obtaining a mining license, or managing impacts on the environment, including groundwater. And your answers: voted, done. Please scroll down the page and select question list to move to the question number 2. The second question is, where should government regulatory agencies focus their efforts to better understand modern approaches and technologies for mining operations? And several answers again: construction and management of tailings and waste storage facilities, mineral processing technologies and reagents, occupational health and safety practices, operational management effectiveness, or groundwater treatment solutions. Voted, done. Please scroll down the page, and then we move to the question number 3. What is the general view on political agendas with respect to support for mining projects in the region? Answers are demonstratively supportive, limited show of support, impartial and no special attention, or not supportive or trustworthy. Voted. Thank you, Arthur.
Okay, Natalia, thank you very much for helping me out. So this is the session all the geologists and miners were waiting for. So now we will be going into the prospects and opportunities for exploration and greenfield development in the southeastern parts of Europe. I would like to pass on the microphone to Chris Bray, who is working for SIK Consulting and based in Sofia. So he's a principal consultant, and he, I think actually Chris, has been operating in this region for more than 10 years. So if you're new to Bulgaria, talk to Chris. He will give you a lot of shortcuts and knowledge and understanding of the region. Without further ado, I think actually we will allow question after each presentation, but one question per speaker. And I really encourage not to overrun them more than by 10 minutes, otherwise, we'll have a short coffee break. Thank you.
Is that working? Dobar dan. Welcome to the second session here. Definitely an interesting topic. As Arthur mentioned, I've been based either working or consulting within this part of Eastern Europe for a good many years. It's always been recognised as an area with plenty of geological potential, but it has taken time to get momentum on developing projects. What I can actually see is that there seems to be good momentum now with sort of exploration turning into operations, which is very encouraging from my perspective. When I first was based out here, I didn't have so many projects to work on, but it's increasing all the time. So I'm looking forward to presentations outlining potential in the region. And the first presentation is from Marian Monteu, who's Deputy Director of the Geological Institute of Romania, and he'll be introducing us to the X-Mine project, which is part of the Horizon 2020.
Thank you, Chris. The X-Mine project is using X-ray based technology in order to increase the efficiency of exploration and mining. The project will make 2 equipments, one for drill core logging and another one for the sorting of the ore from the mine, extracted from the mine. The project brings together 15 participant organizations from 9 countries, 8 countries from the European Union, and the 9th is Australia. VTT Technical Research Center of Finland is the leading partner of the project. And you can see here the logos of all the partners. The activities in the project are distributed to 9 work packages. 4 work packages in the left-hand side upper part are focused on technology innovation. Then there is a work package for pilot demonstrations, and 2 other work packages for dissemination and exploitation of the results, and of course there is a work package for management and another one for ethics requirements. The full name of the project is Real-Time Mineral X-ray Analysis for Efficient and Sustainable Mining. In this figure you can see the geographic distribution of the participant countries: Finland, Sweden, Poland, Czech Republic, Romania, Bulgaria, Greece, and Cyprus. And on the other side of the earth, Australia. Mine project supports better resource characterization and estimation, and more efficient ore extraction in existing mine operations. The output of the project is deemed to make the mining of smaller and complex deposits economically feasible. In this way, increasing the European potential of mineral resources. The research in the project is focused on 3 directions. One is ore deposit modeling. The other one is more efficient drilling, and the third is more efficient mining. The 3-dimensional modeling of ore deposits is based on integrated geological, geochemical, and geophysical data coming from geological mapping and combined geophysical methods. There are 8 partners working in this direction. The Geological Survey of Sweden, which is leading this type of research. Then Uppsala University from Sweden, Explore from Sweden, Geological Institute of Romania, and 4 mining companies: Lovisa Gruvan from Sweden, Hellas Gold from Greece, Asarel Medet from Bulgaria, and Hellenic Copper Mines from Cyprus. The objective of this modeling work package are to collect data from 4 mines, which are run by the 4 mining companies working in the project. And these are very diverse data, from geological to structural, geophysical, mineralogical, and geochemical data. And they are collected from surface observations, from drill cores study, and from research within the mines. Another objective is to build multi-parameter 3-dimensional ore deposit models for 3 mining sites. And the third major objective is to demonstrate the applicability of 3-dimensional ore deposit modeling combined with X-ray real-time sensing for the optimization of mining operations. The application of X-ray technique will produce two devices, two equipments. One is a transportable X-ray analyzer for drill cores, and this is developed by Orexplore from Sweden. And the second one is an X-ray analyzer which will be integrated in a sorting line, and this is made by joint research done by VTT from Finland, Orexplore from Sweden, Advacam from Finland and Czech Republic, and Antmicro from Poland. Both of these devices will be tested at the mining companies, at the mines operated by the mining companies working in the project. Drill core investigation will be done with this device, which contains a cylindrical holder where the drill cores are introduced, and then they are scanned by means of X-ray, penetrative X-ray fluorescence, and the result is three-dimensional tomography, which you can see in this this image, and this scanning also provides some compositional data. Actually, the different colors on that three-dimensional image represent the different colors represent different compositions. And another thing, this device is also measuring the bulk density of the samples. The density is the average density of the entire meter of a sample from the holder. The multi-sensor unit to be integrated in the sorting line is the result of cooperation between partners with experience in mineral exploration, mineral production, geological research, and development of high-tech analytical instruments. In this cartoon, you can see the principle of the method. Actually, the material from the mine, consisting of ore and barren rock fragments, is transported on a conveyor belt, and at some point this material is scanned, and the fragments of ore and barren rocks are identified and are located with precision, so that when they reach the end of the conveyor belt, a blast of pressured air is pushing the gangue minerals, the barren rock fragments, on this side of this divide. So in this way, it is the barren rock is separated from the ore. As I said, the elaboration of this multi-sensor for the sorting line is the result of the work of several partners. Sensor development is done by Orexplore from Sweden, Advacam from Finland and the Czech Republic, COMEX and Antmicro from Poland. Machine learning algorithms are in the responsibility of VTT from Finland, which is also in charge of sensor integration together with Orexplore from Sweden. And unit integration in the sorting line is done by COMEX from Poland, because COMEX already has a sorting line with a detector unit, but the multi-sensor unit made in this project will have superior performances than the actual one. In conclusion, X-Mine project brings together 15 partners of various types, 7 private research organizations, 4 mining companies, and 4 public research and academic institutions. The project aims at sensor development for efficient identification and sorting of ore from waste in order to reduce the consumption of energy and chemicals, make better use of natural resources, and increase the profit to enable extraction of lower grade ores. And by doing this, X-Mine project also supports more sustainable mining of industrial metals, future critical raw materials acquisition for the European Union, lower usage of explosives and reduction of CO2 and NO2 emissions. Thank you for your attention.
Our next speaker is Matej Draxler from the Geological Survey of Slovenia, and he'll be introducing us to the reserve project for EIT raw materials. Thanks.
Thank you. I will explain shortly, present EIT raw materials project reserve, which is about making visible mineral potential of Eastern and Southeastern European region. First of all, words about our geological survey. We are a public research institute owned by the Republic of Slovenia, established after Second World War. We have more than 100 employees, and currently we are involved into 39 international projects. Few words about EIT raw materials, of which we are part. It is largest raw materials community with more than 120 core and associate partners, over almost 200 project partners, and we cover the whole value chain from exploration to recycling, and all 3 parts of KTI, so education, research, and industry. How is Geological Survey of Slovenia involved into EIT raw materials? We are core partner of 2 projects. We are core partner of EIT raw materials and coordinator of 2 projects, reserve, which I will explain later on, and mine service. We are also co-founder of Regional Center Adria, involved in few EIT raw materials projects in 2019. Few words about Regional Center Adria. Regional Center Adria is actually extension of EIT raw materials into the region. Beside Geological Survey of Slovenia, which is co-founders also Slovenian National Building and Civil Engineering Institute, and from Croatia, Faculty of Mining, Geology and Petroleum Engineering. This regional center area represents one-stop shop where stakeholders from the region can find information about funding, about networking, about new projects, about business opportunities, and so on and so on. Now we are reaching reserve project. What is background of this project? It is about, from European perspective or European Union perspective, it is about sustainable self-supply of raw materials. Why? Here you can see different obstacles, different challenges that European Union is facing. And on the other hand, we have a lot of advantages of the region. Here you can see just a few of them. And this is the reason that European Commission recognized this region, in which Bulgaria is also part of, as important for European mineral supply. Now we have EIT raw materials project, which will and is connecting right now this region to Pan-European Minerals Intelligence Network. And what is the reason? The reason is to make information or data about raw materials potential of the region visible. Here you can see few countries or encircled countries which are not part of this broad European inspired network, from Albania to Bosnia and Herzegovina, Serbia, Montenegro, North Macedonia and Bulgaria. So, as you can see, Bulgaria represents great possibility of extension of this project. What we have done so far, first of all, we identified regional stakeholders. We gathered information on primary and secondary mineral resources in those countries. Right now, we are creating a regional mineral registry, which will include 6 countries: Croatia, Bosnia and Herzegovina, Serbia, Montenegro, North Macedonia and Albania. And what is the purpose of doing this? On one hand, to increase capacity of these countries for mineral management, and on the other hand, to ensure sufficient flow of information to regional businesses and also to businesses in European Union and wider. So, if we go further, EIT raw materials and East region. By doing this project and also others project is exchanging knowledge, because regional knowledge about geology, about mining, about expertise in the field is already in the region. And then we have EIT raw materials partners which have also expert knowledge in the field. Why we are doing this knowledge exchange? Here you can see few reasons, and the most important, in my opinion, are last 3 months, because we will generate economic added value in this sector, and as a consequence of this, brain drain will be prevented, and also reduction of environmental issues will take place. So, a few facts about research project. I won't repeat, perhaps just to remind you of budget, which is almost 2 million euros. We are now in the middle of the project. Consortium, there are 8 partners from European Union and 6 regional partners. As we say in EIT raw materials, task partners. So here you can see consortium once again from coordinator, Geological Survey of Slovenia, then partners all from Germany, Croatia, 2 times Greece, Austria, France and Denmark. And task partners, which are very important because task partners know the local environment, the data gathered, and have expertise. So these task partners are actually, we cannot omit them in the project, and most of them are geological surveys from Serbia University and from Macedonian Ecological Society. Here in numbers, once again, consortium, 12 countries, 14 partners from all over Europe. And for the end, how this project evolves. Right now, we are in the middle of creation of common EC mineral register. During project's lifetime, we intend to connect up to 2 countries into this broader European network, but we are sure there will be more of them. After project's lifetime, all other partners will be connected, and for sure follow-up projects will follow geographically with outreach to other EC countries, and once again, Bulgaria for sure. Supporting activities for this project and other EIT raw materials project in the region offers Regional Center Adria Hub. I use this opportunity to invite you to Adria Innovation Day 2019, which will be and is the largest raw materials conference event in Slovenia, and it will take place on the 23rd of October in Portorož. So warmly invited all of you. That would be all. So благодаря ви за вниманието, and thank you.
The next presenter to introduce is Svetlana Yeleva, who is project manager for Kromfgod Exploration, which is one of the more visible developing projects in Bulgaria. So I'll hand it over to Svetlana, and she'll be presenting in Bulgarian if you have your headsets.
Уважаеми дами и господа, с моята презентация ще направя един кратък преглед на историята на откриването и проучването и геологията на златно находище Кром с участъка Датове в него, в който в момента се извършва добив и преработка на златосъдържаща руда. Това е най-новото находище за България, което влиза в експлоатация за последните 35-40 години. Дънди Precious Metals оперира на 3 континента – Европа, Африка и Северна Америка. В Европа фирмата има офиси.
Dundee Precious Metals is operating in Bulgaria and also in Europe, also in Serbia and Armenia. In Bulgaria, Dundee Precious Metals has 2 concessions. One is for Chelopech and the other one is on Adatepe near Krumovgrad, which covers 8 license area. In this presentation, I will give an overview of what the project on ADATP looks like. In the recent years, there has been a discovery of quartz and gold-bearing deposit, which is placed in the sedimentary Pliocene and Oligocene ores and is represented mainly by sands and conglomerates. Up until 1981, in the region, prospecting has been mainly taking place, as I mentioned, for lead and zinc ore, and in 1988, in the region, there was also a complex airborne geophysical study and surveying, in result of which aero-gamma spectrometric results were yielded and several anomalies were identified, one of which is covering entirely the other Tepe prospect. In 1995, in the area of Eastern Rhodope, mapping was performed at the scale of 1 to 25,000, in result of which several soil geochemical anomalies were discovered, where the most intensive one was found on top of ADATP prospect. And the grade of gold was 0.25. In 1999, the state announced a competition procedure for the licensing of a concession of ADATP prospect, which was awarded to Dundee Precious Metals, and the contract was signed on the 12th of June 2000, and intensive geological activities commenced on the entire prospect. The sediments there on this slide, which are in yellow, also localize some temperate thermal quartz containing mineralizations. And more specifically, one of the prospects with intensive ore mineralization was named on top of ADATP. This is what ADATP used to look like back in 2000. Geological activities were commenced and detailed mapping, geological mapping was carried out. In result thereof, in the foundation of the sedimentary rocks, we established the presence of a gold ore mineralization, which was a quartz-bearing foundation, but in order to further clarify the content, we started making trenching to make the sampling. The results we received were of high grades of gold at the intervals of 28 to 30 meters. We established some 17-18 grams per ton, the grade of gold, and this was also proven in depth with the core drilling, which was made as early as 2000, and the results were extremely satisfactory. The geological works and the results thereof were a reason for Balkan Mineral and Mining to register the first geological discovery. By registering this discovery, the second stage of exploration began. At this period, Balkan Mineral and Mining was absorbed by Dundee Precious Metals, thereof being able to acquire, to absorb the financing for the further prospecting of the deposit. Thereafter, we started sampling canals and wells at the network 50 to 50, 25 to 25, 12.5 to 12.5, and even smaller one, 6 to 6. On this map, you can see the detailed mapping, which was compiled by the geologist from Balkan Mineral and Mining and then Dundee, and this was even prior to all activities related to future mining. The geological activity was finalized in 2004 with the exploration works and volumes, with the diamond drilling, axis drilling, etc. Once the detailed exploration work was brought to an end, a geological report was compiled with all the activities and the inventory of resources calculated. This report was approved by the authorities, and a commercial discovery certificate was awarded at the name of Dundee, but the company only received that certificate in 2009. Registering the commercial discovery, Dundee Precious Metals received the right to sign a concession over the Krumovgrad area, wherein Adatepe prospect is included and another 5 prospects that are currently under exploration. A few words about the geology of the deposit. This deposit is located on a relatively high slope and mount, at the bottom of which the rocks of the ore-bearing material lay. On top of those, we have amphibolites, and on them the sediments of the Krumovgrad suite, and therein the gold mineralization of Adatepe is embedded. The detachment between the sediments and the underlying metamorphites is tectonic. It is just a regular detachment surface with a slope from north to east of some 15 to 20 degrees. It is the main detachment tectonic structure. All other tectonic irregularities are in the sediments. In result of the detailed geological mapping, an isometric alteration was established to the periphery of the prospect, and the content is argillitic. The alteration from the metasomatites are the main content of the alteration in the center. The sediment is entirely substituted by quartz, pyrite, and other related minerals. These zones are overlain by later quartz, wherein the grade of gold is very high, some 600 plus grams per ton. But to the southwest section of the prospect. The isometric body is located in its center. It is as thick as 28 meters, and it is the main gold-bearing rock. It is an ellipse shaped, it's prolonged, it's stretched from north to east. The metamorphites are also subjected to alteration along the tectonic contact, and 15 to 20 meters there is a slight argillitic alteration with low gold grades. Single sampling is proving the low grades. Now this is a section from north to south of Adatepe, and you can see the intensive hypothermal alteration zones that are controlled by the isotonic tectonic structure. In the center is the quartzomatic body and the tectonic contact with the underlying metamorphic foundation. The textures of the quartz veins that are mainly bearing the gold are just regular for the low temperature isothermal deposit. The colomorph structures are predominant, and the textures are like the gold mineralization is electrum, and the grades are 637 to 828. It's a fine disperse type of distribution of the gold. Some crystals form chains, and occasionally there is pyrite, halcopyrite, and they are not, however, mineralogically related to the gold. In 2017, the grade control process started for the entire Adatepe prospect. It is ongoing up to date. We are performing access drilling at 5-5 network, and the results resulted in a new model of the ore bodies and the mineralization. What I wanted to highlight is this deposit was discovered many years before we took over. It was active in ancient time. We were able to prove the presence of an ancient mine because we also found some tools that ancient people would use to extract. And being descendants of these ancient miners, we continue the tradition employing new resources, equipment, and this is how Adatepe looks like right now. This is the infrastructure. We also have a flotation facility. This was very briefly the history of a modern, high-tech, open pit mine.
Thanks very much, Svetlana, and a very impressive project to get an overview on. The next presenter is Vladislav Trashly, who's a director with the Geotechnic Group. And so the Geotechnic Group, amongst other things, operate the Lassiter open pit copper mine, which some of you may be visiting later this week, I hope. So thanks very much, Vladislav, guiding your mine operation into success.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, nice to meet you in the afternoon, after lunch, and a little bit of nice exhaustive time in the morning. So, before I start, I just want to mention that so far we were listening about sustainable mining, about good practices, but no one was actually talking about the underlying driver of mining. What I mean is, we saw this morning a very nice picture of this bucket full of water, with a number of holes, which they're trying to plug in. What I'm trying to talk this afternoon is about how we're going to fill the bucket with water. So we all forget that mining the operation is a business enterprise, and there are two main drivers. We need to operate at the best international standards, and we need to make profit. So only once we make profit, we can actually transfer wealth to the community, to develop the local communities, and to transfer even wealth into the government and so on. So I will be talking mainly about how we're going to make money. Before I start, who we are. We operate one of the biggest copper mines in Bulgaria. However, this is actually the second largest copper mine in Europe. Nevertheless, the emphasis of this presentation is how we can make our operation profitable. I'm actually guiding the services department of Geotech Min, and we work with a number of partners worldwide, helping them and assisting them in developing successfully their mine operations. This is a footprint of our partners. You can see we have a number of projects in different stage with number of clients. Well, I'm not going to go to this thing too much into detail, but we have a lot of strength, and our main strength is that we have a synergy between practical experience with proven track record of success. Generally, our focus in the services department is, you can see, mining, project managing, consultancy, going into construction development, and don't even forget training and mentoring, because a lot of time when you transfer knowledge and expertise, the best way is to put people into actual working environment, not just in a classroom environment. So the first question is, how do I make my mine profitable? Well, a lot of people will say simply, a lot of technologies exist in the market. We simply buy software, we simply buy sensors. The first thing, any mine will start with automation of the plant, then they're going to put GPSs on their trucks, for an example, if it's open pit, and then probably some kind of a planning system. So I'm not going to elaborate on this, but this is the beginning, everyone knows it. But is it enough? The big question about any operation is, what technology is most suitable for mine operation? I mean, the truth is, every mine is different, you all very well know, and you need a in-depth knowledge, out-of-the-box thinking to find the best solution for your operation, if you want really to deliver the best optimal results. That's why we are talking about integrating different technologies, and our efforts were to integrate and help first of all, identify the bottlenecks in any project for our clients when we work with them, and then try to find the best solutions for them. And of course, you see at the bottom we have the skill development, because it is a process. It's not only just giving advices, it is just guiding and helping the clients to reach their goals. Sometimes it's very easy and very quick to adopt new technologies. For an example, I'm just giving 3 examples here. Drones, they're everywhere now. Everyone's using them. Don't even have to explain what they do. I mean, the time lead to adopt drones was just a few years. 3D printing technology, probably not as popular now into mining, but is slowly coming up. A new area that most of the mine are working in recycling. We saw so much about recycling, so I'm not even going to talk. So this is all not new technology. I mean, they are very quickly adopted. Here, I'm just trying to point out. This is a statistics which was published about 2 years ago, but I don't think have changed. Why I'm putting this one? Just to show that new technologies are generally very slowly coming into mining. Takes much longer time compared to other technologies. Look about auto industry, look at about our GSMs and telecommunication. I mean, if you look at the bottom, you will see that, for an example, even social media finds very little application into mining for a number of reasons. You can see the highest number sits in top. It's robotics and automation, only about 4%. So mining is generally lagging behind other industries. Why I'm saying this? Because, in fact, most of the technology we apply today into mining were developed already in alternative industries. And mining, for some reason, is very conservative to look outside their daily operation and to apply new technologies. So, when I talk about different approach, I'm just giving you like a few examples. This is now examples that are coming into mining. For example, Sidra, they actually have already a booth here. You can talk to them, but Elacite mine was the first to employ this technology, implement this technology into Elacite. As a result, we achieved more than 2% increase into ore recoveries. Then another example is blockchain technology. I mean, I'm not going to talk too much about this, but it's actually coming later. And then another area of research is dry mining techniques. There's so many very dry arid areas with mines, and running operation with limited water supplies is a challenge. But we don't hear too much about this technology into the mining space. So the only thing I want to underline is that Geotechni's approach, when we look at servicing our clients, is out of the box, very wide lateral thinking. So we are trying to bring together experience with innovative and most of it unconventional thinking. That's what you need. So very briefly, I'm not going to go into much details, but generally our approach to client is not a single point meeting that we just identify bottlenecks. It's only then we, after discussion with the clients, when we understand their needs and their long-term strategy, we put together a plan, we identify the bottlenecks, then we build a team which works together with the client's professionals, and eventually ends with the technical transfer of knowledge, which is like a mentoring program. And I just want to put this one because in our view, mining is lagging behind of the new technology, is again lagging behind blockchain technology. A lot of us don't probably even understand blockchain. It's not about bitcoins and not about digging bitcoins. It's about digging ore from underground. But it's a fascinating technology. I mean, my personal view, blockchain will take another probably few years and we'll start moving into mining. Just think about blockchain. What is blockchain? I'm not going to go into details, but it's an alternative of your database management. So think for your mine, doing reconciliation with the blockchain technology, where you can take single block from your geological model and just track it. Is it in situ? Has it been mined? Where is it now at the moment? What grade it has? And all information is actually appended to it. So it's actually building on top of it. And this information is growing and then ends when the product ends at the market. So think about the reconciliation. We don't really have into mining such a sophisticated reconciliation system. So I think that this is an example of technology that's coming from alternative industries, and so far mining is just there is some discussion in the internet and the web about blockchain into mining, but I think it's very, very rudimentary at the moment. This is the number of clients that we've been working over the years. I can see even an overlap. Anyway, you saw it on the map. So very quickly, I only gonna give you 3 examples of what we have achieved in the last few years. This is actually some of the latest examples, not necessarily the best, but it's example of out-of-the-box thinking. This is an example of grade control system. At first glance, probably a very routine, ordinary grade control system that most of the mines have in place. The thing is that this was scripted to meet Elacite specific needs. So I'm not going to go into detail. It is just a nice chart flow. Everyone can look into more detail. Another example, I said Sidra is here. You can go and talk to the guys there. Very nice, interesting technology. We were not afraid to test it. It was very successful. It took about a year to implement it. And I don't say it's going to work in any deposit, but it's certainly nice to know that there's other opportunities out there. And my last example is this is a client from Georgia. The unique was that inside the pit there were a waste stockpile, which we have to somehow schedule, and it was like predicament for conventional mine schedule. So we actually proposed split shell mining sequence. Not that we have actually, it's not the first time it was used, but it's generally not very common. As a result, we managed to achieve more than 20% reduction into waste mining to utilize this increased safety as well. So if anyone has more questions about this avenue of thinking, I'm ready to discuss. And the last thing is, we are involved, especially in my department, with skill transfer. We have a special program for mentoring with Mitsubishi. On an annual basis, we exchange number of professionals, and they actually come and work for about 2 months at operating environment, which is very different than the classroom environment. And before I end, I just want to say that if you want to just try to think out of the box, if you really want a peer review, an independent view of how to improve your productivity, to increase efficiency, probably you can always stop and talk to us. Certainly, we might not make solution for all your problems, but certainly we can probably, based on our experience and track record, we can offer you some alternatives. Thank you for your attention.
Thanks very much, Ladislav. So our next presenter, I'd like you to welcome Georgi Maggarov, sorry, for the Mondoro Capital Group. Georgi is Senior Exploration Geologist, and he'll be giving an overview of the Bulgarian projects they have. Thank you.
Okay. Благодаря. Okay. This is the usual forward-looking statement. Please take a note. Who is Mondoro? We are exploration company focused mainly on the exploration, and our main goal is to discover new copper-gold resource in the Tethyan belt. How we do this? First, we choose the potential district, which is the Tethyan district, and we put together a one package for strategic projects, and then we rely on experienced team and external consultants, and of course financing is very important. We are working with the partners. Currently in Serbia we are working with Jogmac and Freeport. So Western Tethyan Belt. It's one of the world best places to explore, and as you see, there is numerous world-class deposits in this district. Actually, 5.7% of the deposits are within the Tethyan Belt. 30% of the Tethyan deposits are in Eastern Europe, where we are focused currently. Mondoro's project portfolio in the Tethyan belts is within Timok, Panaguriște, and Eastern Rhodops. And as you see, there are many world and local major companies working in those districts. So I'll present you shortly the projects in Serbia and Bulgaria. This is Bor, and you see how the industry can live with the people together. Our projects in Serbia are in Timok districts. It's, as already you heard, this is a district with a long history, more than 100 years of active mining. These are the Mondoro licenses. You can see all the colors, and they're all around the major mines like Majdanpek, Bor, and the recently discovered Čukaru-Peki. Here we have two partners projects with Freeport and Jogmat, but we do have another 4 licenses which are open for optioning. In Bulgaria, we work mainly in the Eastern Rhodops, and recently we have won a tender in Panaguriște district. Panaguriște is the best place and the most potential in Bulgaria for copper, gold, porphyries and high sulfidation deposits. As you already heard, Elacite, Asarel and Chelopech, 3 active mines, making the most copper gold production in Bulgaria. And in the Eastern Rhodops, Dundee currently started operating at ATP. We have 2 licenses there, Bialo and Zvezda, and actually won another competition for 3rd license in the Eastern Rhodops. This is an emerging belt for gold. It was previously worked for lead and zinc mineralization. Now it's attractive for low sulfidation gold deposits. Okay, in Bialo and Zvezda, we have developed many drill targets, and we have drill tested some of them. As you see here is Brastovo project, Čuka project, Saže, the old lead zinc mine, and several other targets. So Čuka is a copper gold porphyry target. In this slide you can see how it has a geochemical zoning sitting on top of the magnetic anomaly. We have drilled 3 drill holes in Čuka, and here is the section through the mineralization, which shows our intersection actually. This is the historical intersection, and this is the Mondoro intersection, which is actually 146.5 meters at 0.4% copper and 0.12 gram per ton gold, including some high grade, like 80.5 meters at 0.51% copper and 0.15 gram per ton gold. And the system and mineralization is open to the southwest and to the north. On the pictures you can see the excellent quartz sulfide stockwork mineralization and some hydrothermal breccia here, and the high sulfidation overprint over the porphyry mineralization. And this is a large IP anomaly which is just barely tested, so it still remains largely untested, and the deep potential of this system is interpreted to be related to this RTP source anomaly, which is not drilled yet. The whole system of Čuka is 4 kilometers by 2.2 kilometers in size, That's the whole system. Chuka is down here. And we recently discovered in parallel east-west structure another similar mineralization, which is like you see a Vögisilica and Gosenbrecht. Next slide is for Sergel mine. Sorry, I went quickly. Okay, this is a Sergel lead zinc mine. Okay, let's go back again. Yeah. It's just located here, southeast of Chuka. That was an old lead zinc mine which was closed due to economic change in Bulgaria. So we have drilled 5 drill holes from 3 locations, and on the section on the right we have put our intersections and the historical intersections of the lead zinc, and as it's obvious they are much higher grade than it was established previously. Okay, and one of the best intersections, like 6.5 meters at 7.8% lead and almost 1% copper. And you can see like this is a massive galena sphalerite chalcopyrite mineralization and hydrothermal breccia. This is how the drill core looks at Sergel. And the best intersection is achieved here on the basement contact. It's 13.1 meter at 8.6% lead, 3.34% zinc and 1% copper with a silver credit around 15 grams per ton. This is a small insect which shows that the mineralization in the past was mined just first 100 meters, and it's opened at depth and along strike. Thank you.
Thanks very much, Georgi. The next presenter is Jason Bacton, who's MD for the Prospect Slovakia group, creeping further north in the Tethyan Belt, and he's defining precious and critical element resources in the Western Tethyan.
Thank you, Chris, and to the organisers, MINEX, for what is my first visit to refreshingly advanced Sofia in terms of mining. So we're going to, I guess one theme, you only ever remember one thing out of every presentation, and if you can just remember the term gold, which is topical, we'll keep moving. I'm on the sell side, so I'll make speculative comments. Importantly, in the Western Tethyan, we are delivering high-grade gold intercepts with our small public unlisted company. We've just released a tungsten gold resource. We're obviously in a good jurisdiction. Importantly, the jurisdiction has a long history of mining. The Celtic people in 800 AD, if you think about it, they were an NGO. So our first miners in Europe were NGOs. Maybe we'll go full circle. We've got an aggressive exploration target, and you'll see why shortly. And as I said, we're raising money currently. Okay, so I think it's important to dwell on the fact that it's not our first time in Europe as a team. 2 of the directors in particular were responsible, and it was good to hear about Matt Newell from Georgia. The Bolnisi group did very well in the mid-90s before it was fashionable for foreigners to be in this part of the world, did very well, and exited before I took over things in Mexico. We have one of our exploration management team members here, and Peter Zhitnan, who I encourage you to speak to. And as I saw with Ada Tepe, we've discovered an excellent presentation, by the way. The low angle normal fault or detachment fault, Peter's made a recent breakthrough on that front. We're not alone in Slovakia, we'll talk a bit about that in a minute. And your standard corporate structure. And those objectives I should take as given for any speculative investment company looking for minerals. Of course, we seek to go to resource and de-risk the company. But one of the other things we do is select jurisdictions which are low risk. So other peripheral companies we have are in Finland and Japan. Despite their obvious operational difficulties, every jurisdiction has them. We seek low risk jurisdictions. To that end, we are in Slovakia, and I'm not going to dwell too much on propaganda about jurisdictions because everyone in this room, I guess, gets it. But operationally, it's quite straightforward. I'm the only foreigner in our team of 6 or 7, and we have an excellent university in Bratislava, Kamenius, and they're the geologists, and then you have engineers trained out of Kosice. So I don't envisage an Australian invasion. As we go forward, you should see basically one of our 7 projects advance. We'll talk a little bit about Yasini in the centre of the slide, which topically has some critical elements along with the gold, and also within Hadrusha Humri, where we expect to release another JORC inferred resource in the coming week or so. I couldn't pressure the independent geologists into doing it in time for the conference, so that's fair enough. The next slide, sadly, I have to use when I present this company in Australia, mainly because of the perception of Europe being a slightly difficult place to operate. I'm not going to dwell on it too much. There's some advanced apologies for any omissions of operators here. But basically, I do consider it a booming belt, the Tethyan. Of course, every jurisdiction is different, just like within the states of Australia or within the United States, where we invest in Nevada, but we don't invest in Virginia. And homogenisation of mining regulations is a high goal, but I'd just counsel, as an investor anyway, it's not our job to lobby government, and we just pick the best jurisdictions. As someone said earlier, capital follows the path of least resistance. To that end, Slovakia is investable. I won't go through this verbatim, and certainly people should approach me and ask about what we're doing there. And I would also, before I forget, mention another Slovak company operating here in Rodinia with the excellent Ferro and Paulina, who, along with our exploration manager Peter, co-authored the Gold in Slovakia book recently, which we're a small contributor. So there's a lot of foreign capital in Slovakia, just like there is in Australia. It's not a unique concept. And the country, with the normal foibles of being only a 25-year capitalist country, is open to foreign capital. We encourage competitors in a way. I know that sounds odd, but we've pegged the best properties. So there's only 2 or 3 foreign companies operating in Slovakia. You need 7 to be rated on the Fraser Index. Some funds, both in Europe, Australia and Canada, won't invest unless you're on the Fraser Institute, believe it or not. So we are trying to break down that false hurdle. We saw this slide earlier from an EU presentation. We are, in the near term, we think, fulfilling the demand for some of these critical elements, including some accessory light rare earths at one of our projects. Antimony is everywhere through Slovakia. We only like the stuff that's easily processed. I actually find it odd it's a critical critical element for the EU because it's abundant in the Tethyan. Tungsten, we have a deposit, as you can see in the next slide, that is an inferred JORC resource based mainly on historic data and some new data we're capturing. So if you like, we see a need and we're fulfilling a need there, and we encourage people to talk to us about how we're advancing those elements. However, and I stress this, we're not a complicated company. The best market in the world at the moment for what we do is gold and silver. It's a deep market. You don't need to worry about mandates or marketing. It's simple to understand, and I like simple markets. Yasini, which we pegged on open ground, and that's going to be a repeated theme in this presentation, how we were first movers and effectively dominate the best properties. Apologies to Rodinia, but there's still that competitive element. It's a small resource, but we're growing it soon. We think fourfold with a maiden surface drill program targeting, in particular, the last paragraph's important there. I draw your attention to an undrilled high-grade gold zone that Peter and the team have defined with modern sampling on the skin of the asset. As geologists in the room will know, it's quite common for a lower grade asset to have a high grade skin, for example, Prominent Hill in South Australia. So we think there's a relatively simple, straightforward future for Yasuni, which is growth, both in size but also quality as you graduate from inferred to indicated and do what any speculative investor should do and try to reduce risk. This is a reasonably wordy slide and it's difficult to make out the graphics. Probably the one thing to take away from this graphic is the red lines there, what we call epithermal veins. And without getting into too much nomenclature, this style of asset is very commercial in my view. In the junior sector, for example, and I'm on the board of a company where in the past participants sold an asset in southern Argentina called Cerro Negro to Goldcorp, which remains the biggest takeover in junior history for metals, 3.4 billion. This style of asset is reasonably easy to process. You don't need cyanide because there's 1 or 2% base metals with it. Importantly, we surround existing production. In the middle of the slide there, you'll see the Rosalia West mine, which we don't own sadly, but throws off about 10 million euros a year in profit. We have a reasonable relationship with those guys who recently shared their entire database with us, for example, because they're miners and not explorers. So we're trying to bridge that gap because we're explorers and not miners. Having been miners in the past, in fact Peter in the audience was formerly the chief mine geo there. And that's where we made, and this is the segue to Ada Tepe, a discovery on a detachment fault, which as the geologists and the engineers will know in the room is very important because it talks about continuity and grade. Generally in this business, particularly the large porphyry systems, which we consciously avoid. Generally in this business, you want, if you do have high grades, you want some continuity. Otherwise you've got a nuggety disaster and everyone goes home broke. So what we've done is found a new surface that's mineralised, not really new because they've been mining it for about 100 years, but was unrecognised. And it's bearing fruit straight away, as you see with these Ignatz hits, which are moderate widths but high grade. We'll keep following that at depth towards the mine. So I would call this a brownfields play. We've got the entire goldfield in 3D, thanks to the government, who did an excellent job of digitising everything. Because it's the former treasury of the Habsburg Empire, I guess it's an overstudied belt almost, well published, and we're benefiting from that hard work of the government survey in Slovakia. Sorry, I forgot one point there. Final paragraph, we do believe we'll put out a resource on Chokva in the next few weeks. That's up to the independent geologist who specialises in combining old data with new. And I can't talk about tonnage, but you get some grade guidance there. And the grades are exactly what we had at Palmarejo before we sold it to Coeur d'Alene for 1.1 billion in scrip. This slide's a little bit repetitive. It shows again more vein systems, epithermal vein. Again, we think they're eminently commercial. Another company that I was associated with, Extore, sold a system like this, or developed the system, and now it's in the hands of Yamana for 400 million Canadian, and took about 5 years to drill it up. So we are in the process of inheriting again a lot of other people's good work, including Ferro's work on Pukanech, and we're putting it together in 3D, pretty standard stuff, low tech, no geophysics. We are doing some high tech geochem to see through cover, but it's not really needed because we've got over 100 targets on the surface undrilled. What we'll talk about is whether we're drilling them or not. There's always a gentle tension in an exploration company like us when it's the first, not the first one, but one of the first foreign companies in there for a while, and I do stress there's been others in the past. There's a temptation to either, when you notice open properties, which you can peg for roughly 2,000 euros, which is what we did with this one, do you do that or do you focus on what you already have? And we've established a view that we wanted to, if not dominate, then have the best quality properties within the Western Tethyan in Slovakia, and that's why we pegged Zlata Itka and are currently collating the data in 3D again. So it's just a repetitive process of feeding that pipeline. Same applies to Chekhov Zemplin down near the Hungarian border. Again, open ground, again high grade, again low sulphidation. And not to be repetitive, but just to underline the simplicity of our business model and the fact that we believe that this part of the world is not perhaps as competitive as Bulgaria, and that large-scale metal open pits are probably not possible in Central Europe. That's not important because, as per Palmarejo, as we saw at Pajingo and as currently happening at Cerro Moro in Argentina, they have an underground mining solution anyway. So it will be low impact environmentally anyway when we prove these things up. And again, cyanide's not required. You can see the sulphide load. And we importantly share these jurisdictions in terms of surface users with active logging companies and or active farms. So there's no significant presence in nature parks, etc. This is the, I guess, most controversial slide in the presentation, where we add up what we think's there that's pre-JORC. One of them's already been converted to JORC, the top yellow one there in Yasenyi. The next one that'll be converted is the second blue one in Chopva, so there's an internal competition, if you like, within the company. Some of them disappear off the list after they're tested, of course. But it's an arm wrestle, of course, with the JORC committee on what you can call an exploration target. I think I should say something constructive in every talk, and the current JORC committee has nobody on it who's actually done a resource estimate for about 20 years. Don't minute that. Basically, we expect to convert the bulk of this exploration target into inferred JORC and beyond, but it's obviously a matter of artillery and budget, given that we're spending a little under €1 million per annum. So just to wrap up, with our investors after-tax dollar, how do we invest it? As you can see, and as I've probably harped on a little bit too much, it's just resource outputs, and then you go through the permitting chain, which we've heard a lot about already, and I won't repeat, but it's quite robust in Slovakia. You have your standard. If we decide to peg ground, which you saw happen three times in the last few slides, then it takes about 8 weeks to get your concession granted, which is very competitive. I think only Nevada, possibly Western Australia, are faster than that. But the tricky part, of course, and as it should, is the mining lease stage, which we'll pass through shortly. And then I'm going to wrap up with the standard propaganda on the value proposition. The main thing to take away here is we haven't drilled it much. We've drilled a total of 6,000 metres in 4 years, which is minimal. It's been mainly a collection of assets phase, and now we're ready to seek a senior partner to help us push it through the resource gates and the permitting gates. And unashamedly, there's a piece of visible gold that was banged open the other day at our Yasenyi project, and an undrilled project called Lomnitsa, which is gold antimony. And I invite your questions later on personally, that's fine, and as well with Peter. Thank you.
So that's the end of the presentations. Thank you very much, Jason. Are there any questions from the audience on opportunities for exploration or early stage projects in the Tethyan Belt, Bulgaria?
Please raise your hands.
There must be an audience of mining engineers out there. Oh, we got one.
Hi, my question is how the new technology XRF and the other 3D technology is different from whatever we know until now. Because the handheld XRF is pretty standard in every exploration company, and a lot of the labs, they have XRF scanners and XRD so that they can give you the mineralogical. So how your system is different than whatever we know until now?
Well, actually, we try to make it more precise than the present devices, the present equipment on the market. I think this is, I mean, I cannot go very technical because I'm a geologist, but this is what I understood from my colleagues from Ore Explorer.
Are there any more questions to the presenters? Okay, so maybe you can catch up with the presenters later after if there's anything you want to discuss in more detail. So thanks very much, guys.